So, with the new year upon us, I want to ask you this. I don't know how to ask this question. Are there things you regret from the first half of the season doing? Like, for me, I regret watching as much of the Lakers as I did.
Finally, we're here. Finally, welcome. I feel like the Rick James Dave Chappelle skit. You know what I mean? Where he's
Yeah.
like coming in with the aura, like give it to me, baby. That's how I feel. Thank you for coming. Thank you for
But
coming.
I was perplexed because I'm looking back. I'm like, I knew they were gonna suck. I knew they weren't gonna be that good. But why was I watching them so much to figure that out?
I don't know. You should tell me. I have no idea because
Yeah.
honestly, like it's funny because I know one of the things you wanted to talk about was like who's one of the teams you wanted to see the least of. But is that a question you want to save for later?
I no, that's kind of it, right? Like there's
Okay.
teams that I watched during the first part of the season where I'm like, man, I don't want to watch them anymore.
Yeah, well, I'll be honest with you. The Lakers was definitely on that list, but I'll be honest. I think the Lakers have been on that list for the last couple of years. I don't enjoy watching them play. Like
Oh
that,
no.
no, not really. Like I think the first year when AD got there, that was it was a pretty unique team defensively. They were really solid. You know, you still weren't sure who was gonna win. It was kind of remember that year. Well, that's when they ended up winning in the bubble. But like,
Yeah.
you thought like there was a bunch of teams that could have won, right?
Yeah.
Prior to COVID, like you thought there was a bunch of teams that could have won. But watching them play, I'll be honest, man. I don't know. I don't get an enjoyment. I find they don't play fast. It's half court, which is fine, but they don't play. It's not exciting to watch. I don't find it exciting to watch. The first year was fine. You know, last year was pretty good. You know, maybe more first half of the season before injuries and COVID and all that stuff. And I like it's you know what I kind of compare it to. It's like I don't know if you ever watched this show, but like you know when you're watching like a soap opera, like Bold and the Beautiful, you don't watch it for like 2 years and then you just go back and within a week you know the whole scheme. You know what the Devereaux and the Foresters are doing. Like that's what it feels like. It feels like I can just go back and watch them and I know exactly what's gonna happen. So I'm just not interested.
I'm gonna take your word on the soap opera thing because I don't watch
It's
soap
fine.
operas.
I don't
But
either,
it's a
but
good
I used to. Like back in the '90s, I used to. But it doesn't change. It doesn't change. I'm sure those families I mentioned are still the same. But go on.
it's a good point because we talked about this on your pod. The Lakers are very uninspired. You know when you watch them, so you're like, man, what? Why am I doing this? So now that I've figured it out, I'm definitely not watching more of the Lakers. I'm gonna put the Knicks in that boat too, just
Uh,
because it's
uh,
painful to watch right now.
yeah, yeah. It's
Julius
painful.
Randle. We talked about
No, go
this on
ahead.
your pod. Julius Randle just doesn't have what he had last year.
No, I think some of that magic is gone, and I don't know which pod I heard this from, but I know they were mentioning like the Knicks last year. They were the surprise team of the year last year, and part of it was what they got they finally got some decent players. They got a good management, everything else, but then part of it was they had 9 months off. You know, 9 months, yeah, 9 months off between, so they're healthy, they're young, they're hungry, new coach, they're just ready to get at it, right? And Thibodeau is like the perfect guy to like, if you want to get on that hot start at the beginning, it's like he's the great guy to come in and just set the wheels in motion right away, right? It's just this time he doesn't
Yeah,
have like a Derrick Rose. Well, he has Derrick Rose, but not the Derrick Rose from 2009, you know?
no.
So that's the problem,
I
right?
think yeah, and I think integrating the new guys and the way they did it, I don't think they're bad. I think
Mm-hmm.
this is probably the team they should have been last year. It's still better than the Knicks have been up for a long time,
Oh, for sure,
even if
for
you
sure.
take away what's happening in the season. But integrating new players and all that, they didn't always hit. And so the Knicks are on my list of stop watching. Who's on your list of teams? Did we miss somebody you don't want to watch, or do you want to get into who you want to watch?
I think the Lakers. I think I'm in agreement with you. The Lakers are definitely a team that I don't. I had them on my list as a team I don't really. I didn't really watch them, but then even last night, or when was the last time they played? When did they play the T Wolves? Was it last night? I think it was yesterday.
Yeah, it was
They
last
played the
night.
Timberwolves. Yeah, last night. They played the Timberwolves last night, and I'm like, a friend of mine was telling me, and I was like, okay, is Anthony Edwards playing? I'm like, is Anthony Edwards playing? I'm like, if Anthony Edwards is playing, I'll put it on right now. If he's not playing, I'm going to continue watching Netflix. And he's like, he's playing. I'm like, all right, I put it on. And it was like the same thing. Like, they struggled to beat them, and that team didn't have Towns or D'Angelo Russell on there, right? It just had Anthony Edwards and a bunch of cast-offs, and they still almost pulled it out. So it's like, what the soap opera is, but the soap opera went down a little bit.
The Wolves might be one of those teams that's bordering on a team I might actually watch on purpose.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Because Anthony Edwards is legit. They seem to be starting to put together. It's really a statement of what somebody can do to change your attitude. The addition of Pat Beverly, to me, really kind of, it boosted them up. Like, he's a tone setter, and they needed that. They had no guts last year, and I feel like he's kind of done something for them.
No, I agree. There was a game earlier this year that I watched I thought was a fantastic game. Now, this is maybe early December. Is when they played Philly in Philly. That it was Embiid's first game back after missing with COVID, I think, and injuries and stuff, and he came back at like 40-something points, 10 boards. But it was a fantastic game because like Edwards just, that team right now is Towns' team, but I feel like it's just in quotations only. Like by the end of this season or by next season, it's gonna be Edwards' team. He just needs he just needs some more reps. That's basically it. Like it's like his whole demeanor and personality. He's the alpha. He's the alpha dog on that team.
It bleeds off the TV screen when you watch.
Yeah,
he's their best player. Who else is on your list?
Good question.
I know who's on my list.
In terms of who I want to see, I want to see more of the Bucks because they have they've been ravaged through COVID and through injuries too. But I feel like I feel like for them it's probably a good thing that they kind of went through that now because some teams they're just getting ravaged through it now. And it's probably better they go through that now and just get over that and get over some of the little nagging injuries and start to gel as the season gets, as the marathon goes a little further, right? But I know I saw a stat. I don't know if it's still the same stat now, but I know when Giannis, Middleton, and Drew all play, at one point they were 13-2. When they all played together, which is a big stat, right? Because that tells you that those guys have definitely learned from last year. I mean, they're always a really good team, obviously, especially with the addition of Drew, obviously. But like, I feel like they got that little championship magic on them now. So it's like their confidence is just different. You watch them play in like, the end of game situations, late game situations. There's no fear. It's just a sense of calm. You know what I mean? Throughout all of them. Like, you're watching games, even if they're down 10 and it's like 5 minutes left, you're like, they're probably still in it. And then sure enough, they'll just start making baskets. Giannis will be Giannis. And then all of a sudden, Grayson's hitting shots. Middleton, Pat, what's his name? Bobby Portis. Connaughton, sorry, I was about to say. Connaughton will start hitting shots, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, they're up 5. Like they just have this confidence about them, so that's a team I definitely want to like pay attention to. And then look, right now I think they're third in the East, they're 25-13, even with all those injuries and, all the COVID, absences and stuff, they're still 25-13. Like they haven't even gotten their legs together yet. I think they're underratedly scary.
Yeah, you talked about Grayson Allen, and he's a heck of a pickup for them. I mean, who'd have thought he'd be doing what he did? And DiVincenzo's back, so we'll see what happens to the rotation there. But, Middleton's missed some games recently, and one of the big pluses that's happened is they've been playing Giannis at the 5, and the lineups with him at the 5, they destroy.
Yeah.
It's
like a death lineup. It's really
hard. Yeah, they're so good, and they can throw out the shooters. You mentioned Connaughton. Bobby Portis is playing well. Sure, they don't really have a big that you could roll out there, But really, in the regular season, it doesn't matter, and then in the playoffs, it's matchup based. But whatever. But yeah, Milwaukee definitely. I've watched a little bit of them, and they're exactly what you're saying. You know, they got that championship shine, and they're just they just bide their time. They know how the NBA works. We're within 10 going into the fourth quarter. All right, now let's turn it up. You know, let's cut it to 6 by the end of the third, and then you know, what the Bulls used to do. That's what a lot of championship teams used to do. They manage the game and they go, okay, now we win.
Yep, like the Lakers before them, and the Spurs with Duncan, and even the Heat with LeBron, and you just know they're just gonna just chop it down. Like it's methodical. And can I add something else to it too?
Sure.
Giannis, that guy's going under the radar right now. And again, it's because of the injuries, because of COVID and stuff. But when you watch him play, maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But to me, he's a better player than he was even like last year, even in the playoffs. Like there's like just because not necessarily the skill sets changed per se. Like, well, the shots gotten better. But the shots gotten better because there's more confidence. But I just think it's just his overall confidence as a player. I think he's just a better player now.
Yeah, confidence, but it's just an aura, right? That I think it is that championship thing where like, oh, I know how to get there, and he feels very secure in what he can do, and it's those moments, and you saw it with Tim Duncan and Kobe and LeBron, where they're like, oh, I'm the best player in the world, so I'm just gonna do. I'm not. You're not even there to me, and I think that's where we are. With him, you know, whether you think it's him or KD, sure, but
semantics
really
at
hard.
This point, really, it's semantics. It's preference at this point. But when you watch him play, that's a bang on statement. When you watch him play, it's like you're just an obstacle to him to get to where he needs to go, kind of thing, you know. And then there's some guys he just bodies the hell out of, you know, when he just wants to say, okay, you know what, move out of my way. You're just being shoved out the way. If he wants to out rebound you, there's nothing you can do. You know, even if you foul him, I think the free throws is about the same, but you still kind of feel like he's going to make those two when he needs to make it, you know, especially at home.
Milwaukee, I mean, there's players too, like that you want to watch. Are there players out there? You and I did on your pod sort of the biggest question marks, you know, like who are you curious about? I can only remember a few of the guys that I picked, but is there anybody you want to watch before I get into my teams? Is there a player out there that if you look on the lineup, you're like, oh, I'm gonna watch that game?
It's a good question. Right now, I would say, just off the top of my head, I would say Mobley. I want to watch more Eric Mobley. I just want to see how that guy continues to develop. Man, it's really impressive to watch where he's at. Like. And it's not necessarily the scoring, because I think the scoring's going to improve. It's going to get better. But I just didn't think the IQ, especially, well, defensively, you saw it coming. But even offensively, the IQ that he has for, like, the all-around skill set, I didn't think it was, I didn't think it would come that quickly. You know? And the stats don't necessarily bear it out.
The one stat that matters is winning, and they're winning. The 4 games he missed, they lost all those games, I think.
Yeah.
And the pace that he plays at is an old guy pace, in the sense an experienced player pace, because you can't speed him up, and he's always calm, always under control.
Yeah.
And often with young bigs, they only have 1 or 2 moves in their bag, if they have any. And with him, he's deferring a lot, but when you see him get into his offense, I've seen the mid-range jumper, I've seen the post-up, I've seen the follow-up offensive rebound, I've seen him hit the deep ball, his passing is legit, and I mean, I don't think anybody in my mind that I listen to is like, look, this kid's going to make them better. They said he was going to be really good, but he makes them win.
Better, yeah.
Which is not something that happens for a rookie.
No, it really doesn't. What's the last rookie you've seen that directly impacted a team to that degree, winning wise? I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. Like, it's hard to say, right? Like, it's usually they come in and
Tim Duncan's the only one that comes to mind right now.
Right, but and even Tim Duncan is hard to say because the year before, you know, Robinson also wasn't there, right? There was a few guys that didn't play that year, so it's hard to say because they still would have been good, but he made them obviously better. Like there's no question about that, you know. But I keep saying like he's the right-handed Chris Bosh, and honestly, I don't feel like that's enough. You know what I mean? Like I don't feel like I keep saying that, and I'm like, you know what? I need to stop saying that because I think it's actually, and it sounds insulting because Chris Bosh is either he is in the Hall of Fame or he's about to be one. And I feel like he is a Hall of Famer, and they're right. But I feel like that's an insult. I feel like it's an insult to Mobley, because I think right now, especially where they are at this stage of the career, Mobley was definitely better. You know, Mobley is definitely better.
I've watched a lot of Cleveland on purpose. There were years past where I was like, oh, I don't want to watch Cleveland. Mm-hmm. It's going to be tough now without Rubio because he was such a big key to how they played and the flow of the game, and it allowed Darius Garland to freelance offensively and still keep them organized. But they're bringing in Rondo. We'll see what that brings. Kevin Love has been a revelation for Cleveland. He's played really well, especially after the debacle with USA Basketball this summer and Jerry Colangelo basically calling him a bum.
Yeah, which was messed up. That was messed up on Colangelo's part. But
you're watching Cleveland play, and they're rolling out three bigs. And they're rolling out Allen Mobley and Larry Markkinen, who basically is a four-man as their front court.
Yeah.
And you're going, like, how are they winning? But it just works. Like, when you watch them play, it's really hard to say this one thing. You're paying attention to Mobley for sure, but they don't do anything that blows your mind, but they just win. They make shots. They win. They don't turn it over.
Yeah. They protect the ball. And you know what? That front court, a large part of that is because of Mobley. Because I think defensively, he's so versatile, right? Like, he can guard anywhere from, like, the 5s to the 2s right now. You know what I mean?
But offensively, too, right?
Yeah.
The ball, he moves the ball. He moves without it. He plays within himself. And they're a big surprise. I don't think anybody could have said, you know, the Bulls, people were unsure. They could be good. They could be bad. Nobody was going, Cleveland's going to be a playoff team. Like, nobody was saying that.
No, you thought they were going to be okay, but that, you know, that was about it. But you're right. That Rubio injury, that was, I think that's going to come back and get them. But we'll see what I think Rondo helps them, you know, be a smarter team, smarter backcourt. I'm not sure how much he contributes to them on the floor at this stage, but yeah, like he might still contribute a little something, a little bit, but I don't think it's, you know, it's not going to be like where he was like 2 years ago in the bubble, right? Like I think even that guy's gone now.
His numbers are okay, right? If you look at his numbers for the Lakers, you know, he's per 36. They posted those when they were talking about the trade. So you're kind of like, okay. He's not playing 36 minutes, so I don't know what you're posting these numbers.
And that's one of the most overrated stats per 36 minutes. He would, you know, per 36 minutes, Bill would average 18 and 18. You know, Calvin will average 21 and 13. But it's like, okay, but there's a reason why he's not playing 36 minutes, right?
Yeah.
There's a big reason, right? So.
Another team that, I mean, I'm actually trying to watch Chicago play more, but because I have League Pass, they're always on cable, so they're blacked out on League Pass, which is a bummer. So I actually have to put an effort in to like watch them the next day.
To watch them.
I mean, all of this has to come with the caveat that these teams have so many players out because of COVID that you're like, who are these guys? You know? So, I mean, hopefully with everybody getting healthy and getting back out of protocols, we can start seeing the regular lineups. Chicago is on my list of teams to watch for sure. I've seen them probably play 3 times this year, but they are a must-watch for me.
Yeah, I want to see how real this DeRozan thing is right now with Chicago. Because right now he's playing like, at worst, like a second-team All-NBA player, you would say. Right now he's a top 10 player, in the, like, at least for this season. He's playing like a top 10 player. But to your point, COVID is basically like the downfall of this season right now. Like I think the first up until about 3 weeks ago, like this season was a great year. Like it was, I think most games, even the crappy games, you were like, oh man, I gotta watch. Like I remember when Detroit and Houston played. I'm like, oh, Cade Cunningham versus Jalen Green. I'm like,
Jalen
oh,
Green.
let me watch it. I'm like, damn, Cunningham's putting in work. Like and now I think I saw the other night Lance Stevenson got a basket for the Pacers, and I was like, is that a throwback video? And it was last night.
Okay, hold on. Last week, Lance Stevenson was on the Hawks.
I didn't even know that.
I was watching a Hawks game. It was the only game that came through on League Pass. And I'm like, oh, Lance Stevenson. And then I clicked on ESPN yesterday. And no, I was looking at my fantasy team because everybody on my fantasy team has COVID.
Oh, my God.
So I'm like, who am I going to pick up? And I'm like, Lance Stevenson, Indiana Pacers. What? And so they have these guys just bouncing around on 10 days. And it's kind of crazy.
It's crazy. The names you're seeing popping up. I saw Joe Johnson pop up on the Celtics, got his first basket.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just like, Joe Johnson's still available to work out? There's some guys that needs to throw their hat in the ring, man. Like I saw Mario Chalmers getting ready for the Heat the other night. I'm like, what is actually happening here right now? Like,
yeah. CJ Miles, like there's a ton of NBA names out there. Greg Monroe is playing for who's he playing for?
No, Greg Monroe's
Minnesota?
not back. Greg Monroe is back.
He had a double-double the other
The
night.
Moose The Moose is back. Yeah, that's hilarious. That is hilarious.
So, yeah, all of this comes with like that asterisk. Who do you want to watch if their players are playing?
Right.
Who do you not want to watch?
Right. But to go back to the DeRozan thing for a second though with Chicago, like they're a good team, definitely for sure. I totally forgot about Kobe White. I think that is a great acquisition. I mean, it's not an acquisition because he was injured, but that is a great pull to have on your like coming off the bench. Like I think as a backup point guard, I think that is a great backup point guard position to me personally, especially the backup Lonzo Ball.
He doesn't play point guard. He's a chucker. Chucker is his position. And just like Lou Williams, like they're just chuckers. He's not getting in there to run your offense. He's getting there going, I'm out here for 4 minutes. I'm going to try to get up as many shots as I can.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's great to have him in the backcourt coming off the bench. He's not starting, but to come off the bench like last year, like last year, he was always starting and everything else. So you're just like, okay, like he was solid, but you don't know where it was gonna go. But now like, okay, this is like at least for right now in his career, this is like the perfect position for him, But yeah. I think with DeRozan, like I just want to kind of see like, okay, has he gotten over those playoff miscues? Has he gotten over those demons of not being able to perform well in the playoffs? He hasn't been in the playoffs in about 3 years now. Then the last time was with the Spurs, and they lost in the first round. And I think they went Game 7 with the Nuggets, and he gave you those DeRozan and the Raptors when you need them best numbers. Like it wasn't good, right? So that's I'm like, all this is great. The two buzzer beaters, I think he set a record. I think it was the first time a player's ever hit consecutive buzzer beaters.
Consecutive days.
Consecutive days and in 2 different years. Because one happened New Year's Eve, one happened New Year's Day. Right? So what a unique and weird record, right? But the thing is I'm like, yo, all applause to him because like he's a guy that always works, and I've always liked DeRozan for that, so I'll never knock him, but
and a likable guy, right?
For sure.
And when you watch him in interviews and stuff, very genuine, very vulnerable, like just put in the work, and he's still very humble. So it's good to see him getting some accolades that I think he deserves. His playmaking's come along over the years. That was a very underrated part of his game, I thought, and it's just shining right now in that environment, and good for him. Two players that were on your players you were curious about was Ben Simmons and Kyrie Irving. Neither of them have played a game, which is killing me because I got Ben Simmons on both my fantasy teams, and I really need him to play for me to win this thing.
Like now, like right now.
Yeah, like tomorrow. hitting refresh for trade rumors like recurrent, like all the time. So
he might be able to do it, but I think he might be in Malibu right now, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's going to work out for you. He might be in Malibu.
We'll see what happens. Trade deadline's a month away?
Month away, yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I don't think Philly can sit tight with this and waste a year of Joel Embiid's career, and I'm aggregating that from other people, from other podcasts, but it's something that I agree with. You can't let this last 4 years, like Daryl Morey said.
Yeah, just go to waste kind of thing.
Yeah. And what do you think about the part-time player thing with Kyrie?
Oh, I'm excited. That's one of the things I'm actually interested to watch too. Like, I want to see how this Kyrie in concert series goes, with Brooklyn right now. Like, I'm interested to see how that works out. Like, a gifted hooper, he could only play in the road games. New York is. I mean,
he didn't get vaccinated.
No, he still didn't get vaccinated yet. And New York has been, like, as of Wednesday, they've put in even more mandates and more rules across the state. Especially in New York City. So I don't think that's gonna be reversed anytime soon. I think it's only gonna get tighter. They're confirming with even some family members that live there. They're like, it's gonna be even tighter. So, I mean, this is what it's gonna be unless he decides to one day change and get it done. I mean, Brooklyn right now has to basically get that number 1 seed and just pray to God it's the number 1 seed overall in the NBA, which I don't think that's going to happen because I think either the Warriors or Suns are probably going to gun and get that record. And if that's the case, it's like, you want to have the home court of, actually maybe not. Like, maybe you just want to at least lock down the number one seed, or maybe not, because maybe you get more games from him, right?
Fans. Maybe you can't have fans. So what do you need the home court for? Maybe they end up instituting a bubble again. Who knows? I mean, I'm excited to see what happens.
You think it gets to that degree?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know anything. I just want my kids to go to school, Calvin. And not because I'm concerned about their education, but because I can't have them at home. But anyhow, I'm just curious about Kyrie, and I'm not a person who's often interested in drama, but it's funny that I'm the one interested in the drama from Brooklyn and you're not the one bringing it up because it's a train wreck to me, and I'm just sitting on the sidelines with some snacks watching. I just don't know how it's going to turn out.
But I mean, this is what the players wanted, right? They wanted him back. They wanted him back, and sure. Like, this is what it's going to be. So I mean, if they're in agreement with it, then and that's the thing. We don't know what's going on behind the curtain, right? Like, we don't know if Kyrie's in constant contact with them every day. We just see that he's not there, but we don't know if he's talking to Harden, talking to these guys every day or every other day. Sharing notes, sharing different. We'd have no idea, right? So, like, yeah. But the fact that the players wanted him to come back and everybody was in agreement with it, especially, I think a lot of it too is especially because of all the losses due to COVID, the manpower, right? Mm. So that's a large part of it too. So you may as well have one of the best players in the league come back, even if it's for road games. You may as well have him back. Why not?
What are your thoughts on how long before he says something like super weird to the media?
Oh boy. Oh, don't do that to me.
Over under 2 weeks. Come on. Over under February 1st.
Oh man. Oh, that's a. Can we say by what's the over and under by or before the All-Star break? Can we say is it you're saying way under the All-Star break?
I don't know. The All-Star
I'm saying
it's sort of like middle of February. So
yeah, 6 weeks. Break? 6 weeks.
Okay.
Maybe 6 weeks.
I'm gonna say he says something like dinosaurs are real, or something.
Oh no, I don't think it's that. But I think actually, you know what? Scratch that. It's probably gonna be by within the next 2 weeks, because there's gonna be a COVID conversation happening. He's gonna have some things to say. Oh, so he's within 2 weeks.
I think it's just a higher probability because he's gonna be in front of them so much because he's been away, and he's just gonna get so irritated. Mm-hmm. And I kind of enjoy it a little bit because he's kind of giving them the finger, like, whatever, man. It's like the Marshawn Lynch. Like, I'm here just so I don't get fined, bro.
I
would like him to do that.
You know what it is, though, too? I agree. You know what it is, too, on top of it? It's kind of like the thing with Aaron Rodgers, right? Where, Aaron Rodgers said he was immunized and, and everybody went crazy. And my feelings on it was like, you know what? If he's lying to the media and he's not truthful with the media, do we really care, Bill? Does it really change our lives? Because my thing is, his teammates, there's no way his teammates don't know that he's not vaxxed, right? And the coaching staff and the organization, they all know. Like, come on. Like, there's no way they don't know.
Bradley Beal just got vaccinated.
Oh, did he really?
I just look.
Okay.
Yeah. I look forward to those moments on the court where one of Kyrie's teammates does something and he gives them the stink eye and starts talking to them. I just love those moments with him because he just shrugs and his hands go up and he's like, what? Or like, he pulls an Antonio Brown and rips his shirt off. I don't know.
No. Can you imagine if he did that? Well, the thing is, he probably could do that and he'll still play because his contract's guaranteed. So, but no.
Two of his closest friends are on the team, right?
Right. But so, I think, honestly, PR-wise, what would be the smartest thing for him to do is Kevin Durant has a podcast, right? Just go on Kevin Durant's podcast, have the conversation. You know what I mean? It's either because, back in like the 90s, 2000s, this is where you call Ahmad Rashad and do the tell-all interview. Yeah. Or Rachel Nichols up until like a year ago, and you do the tell-all interview, and then they talk about it. It runs through the gauntlet of, the car wash of media, and then, and then after a few weeks it goes away, for the next trending topic, right? But if I'm him, I'll just go on a podcast, talk about it one time with the media, then don't ask me about this again. You know what I mean? And just keep the distractions to a minimum. Like that's what I would suggest. I don't know how it's going to work out, but that's what I would suggest.
That's fair. Is there anybody else in the Eastern Conference you want to talk about before we jump over to the Western Conference? I don't want to talk about Atlanta.
No,
I'm sorry, Trey.
I think we're pretty
sorry,
good.
Trae Young, for doubting you a few years ago, but Atlanta sucks.
Yeah, you could doubt the team again. Well, I think part of it too is it's the whole injuries thing, right? Like they're just injuries mashed up, and plus they're playing uninspired ball. Let's see where they are in the next few weeks because I think injuries, and uninspired play has basically done them in. You know what I mean?
Uninspired defense.
Yeah, basically,
or non-existent, for that matter.
Basically, but no, let's go wherever you want to go, man. You want to go with the West? Let's go with the West.
My team that I want to watch more of, and I've watched plenty of them, is Memphis.
Yeah,
they Desmond Bane has been pretty impressive to me, and like his game isn't flashy. He just does a lot, and what's flashy about them is Ja Morant is unreal. He's a monster. Did you watch the Phoenix game where they were going shot for shot and he hit the game winner?
You know what? I missed it, but I saw the highlights for that.
I watched most of the game. I watched the entire fourth quarter. He was awesome.
I watched
Devin Booker. They were great.
Oh, that would actually no. I did see that. I was just saying because Devin Booker one of the last minute shots, right? I believe.
Devin Booker hit a shot with like 5 seconds to go.
Mm-hmm. So I think I did catch the end of that game actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So Phoenix was down, and they had the ball with like 13 or 16 seconds to go, and they hit a shot quick. Right, they didn't let the clock run down. They got the shot up. They got a good shot, and he nailed it. Right, and there was just enough time for Ja to hit that leaning runner, and just one of those games where your hands are on your head at the end. Like, what did I just watch?
You know what? I'm just taking a look at my phone right now to see the score because right before we started recording this, I was watching them play Brooklyn. As we're speaking, he had a monster dunk, which.
Yeah.
You'll see in the highlights within the next 30 minutes. Like he, just didn't just another highlight reel. But I'm looking at his stats here, and to your point, 36 points, 8 assists, 6 boards. The game's easy to him.
He had 40 plus in a win over the Lakers.
Yeah,
right.
That game I watched.
They're playing great. Their bench, like Jaren Jackson, isn't even playing well, and he's another story altogether. Like I would not pay to see Jaren Jackson play, but he's a good player, and they have a good team, and they play well together. They haven't even had Dylan Brooks.
Yeah, they haven't had a lot
for
of
most of the season.
Yeah.
You know, so they're on my team of they're on my list of teams to watch more of. I have accidentally watched a lot of the Spurs, and they're kind of better than I think, but they're still not that good because that whole bottom part of the East is just such a mess. A team that I want to watch, or I wish I wanted to watch more of, but can't, is Denver, who surprisingly is still 5th in the West with no Michael Porter Jr. and no Jamal Murray. And I don't know what's going on. Jokic is just – I love watching him, but they have games where they lose by 30 and then games where they win, and you're like, I can't watch this.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm getting.
It's inconsistent. It's hard to – like, Joker is great to watch, but, like, they're outmanned right now. It's just basically it is what it is. Like, they're outmanned. It's hard to – you know, like it's just hard to watch them play. Considering where they are, I know they're 5th in the East, but considering where they are, I don't know what the status is with Jamal Murray right now. Like, I know he tore his knee. He should be ready around this time or by February. But I'm like, if they're still 500 by like the All-Star break, I'm flirting with the idea of maybe just sitting him the rest of the year, just have him ready for the 2022 season, 2022-23 season. You know, like just do like a Klay Thompson, just have him just miss the whole year. Because you're not going to win the title.
About him.
No. You're not going to win the title.
Chatter about him coming back. And my bigger concern with them is like what's going on with Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah, because that's the third. I was going to say that's the third back surgery he's had, right? Yeah, but that's the third back surgery he's had. He's only 23 years old. That's not good.
And you know, guys come back from ACL. You're young, tall, like lanky with a back injury.
Yeah,
I'm scared for you.
Yeah, and then on top of that, they've already gave him the bag, right? And it's not the NFL bag, or it's not the Antonio Brown, we can just cut you tonight, type of bag. Like that $150 million, $170 million is fully guaranteed, baby. Once that pen leaves the paper.
They actually have a lot of games played caveats in there.
Okay, so they got provisions in there. Good.
Similar to the contract Joel Embiid signed years ago, because that had a lot of incentives for games played.
Yeah.
And so they protected themselves there given his injury history. I feel the same way about Dallas because outside of Luka, what am I watching for?
I've been I've heard you've heard me say this for the longest while. Kristaps Porzingis is. I've said it again. He's no longer the unicorn. He's just Kristaps. He's just Porzingis. He's just Kristaps Porzingis. Don't stop calling. Don't call him the unicorn anymore. It's just Kristaps.
Just start calling him Chris.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris.
Not even Staps. Don't even say Staps.
Nope.
Just Chris. Just Chris will do. And he's playing a little better this year. But remember on the last part that I had you on, I was saying the same thing. I'm like, I find them. I thought they were a little disappointing, but at the same time, it's like, who do they really have on the team?
Yeah.
They
didn't. There's nothing around those two guys. Dallas has trouble attracting free agents, despite Mark Cuban being this really likable guy, apparently. So, what happens with Luka? Got the bag, good for him, but I'm really concerned about their ability to build around him because if you look at their roster, there's nothing there that says these guys are a top 4 team in the West.
No, absolutely. Unless he plays out of his mind, which I don't think he is right now. He's playing good, but he's not. To me right now, based on talent, you'd probably put him on an All-NBA team, but I would think maybe 3rd right now. If that.
I did, on my pod, I did one of my own a few weeks ago. I did the top 30 players in the NBA based on sort of the Ben Simmons trade, right? Because Daryl Morey is going, I want a top 25 player. And I was like, well, who are the top 25 players?
Yeah.
And it's really easy for you to put together like the top 6 or 7. You go right there. Then you also have a list of guys who are injured. So you take them off the list. And then you have your tier 2, and then you have everybody else.
Right.
Luka, Jokic, they're in your top. They're in the top tier, right? They're in your top 6 or 7 without a heartbeat. James Harden would be, except he's out of shape. So it doesn't like they need another guy. They need more on their roster, and they're aside from just Luka carrying them, and you can see in his attitude like he's out of shape. I think he's injured. Just little nagging stuff from the summer, from the Olympics that he never recovered from.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're Luka, like, what's there to get excited about? Like, who are you going to pass to? Hey, Dwight Powell, give me another layup. Like, what are you getting excited about?
So you don't like Jalen Brunson? You don't think Jalen Brunson's a superstar?
I love Jalen Brunson, but he's not like. He's not going to make an all-star team.
No, he's playing better than I thought, though. I'll give him that. Like, he's actually pretty solid. Yeah,
I love his game.
It's a little Van Vlietish in terms of like the confidence. In terms of the confidence.
Yeah. Not quite as good as Freddie though.
No. Like a poor man's left-handed Van Vliet. But I watched that team, and that's a team I don't really want to watch either, even though it has Luka on it. I'm like, I'm good. I still believe, though, that they, and until they get, I guess, other players to come there, or maybe he attracts other players to come there, I still believe, like, and I guess they're going to have to this season, but I still feel like they run the offense to him too much. I've been saying that ever since he's gotten there. I'm like, or especially when Dirk left, like, I'm like, it's a little too much. I know he's all around. I know he's like their point guard, but he has the ball in his hand. He doesn't play off the ball, really. You know what I mean? Like, they
don't have anybody else. What else are you going to do? To me, it reminds me of Jordan back in the day when it's like, yeah, go get 50. But your other guy's got to beat us. And they don't have that.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have nobody that can create there's nobody that can create a shot outside of Luka.
Yeah, and I guess Tim Hardaway. That's Tim Hardaway.
You're telling me Tim... Okay, let's not confuse being a chucker with being able to create a shot.
Hey, he gets the shot off. He gets the shot off. That's as much as you can give him.
Is there anything else you want to talk about with the Mavs?
No. Go ahead. You can keep it moving.
So, I don't want to. I used to like watching Portland, and I can't watch them now.
Yeah.
There's a team that I want to watch more of, but they have no front court players, and that makes them suck as OKC. That backcourt of Dort, Giddey, and Shea, that's legit. But their front court is garbage. Hot garbage. And that's hot garbage in the summer.
And that's okay. Let it be dumpster fire for now. That's okay. I think Bazley, there's a potential for Bazley to be something, but he's just a little too inconsistent right now. But other than that, I mean, that's okay. This is what having 38 number 1 picks in the next 2 years is worth, right? You figure all that out when it comes along, right? So, like, yeah. But Dort, I'm especially happy for Dort. It's the stats he's putting up, and it's good that he's now showing the side that he can score, because I think people just thought he was just the defensive player, and he is that. I think he worked more to be that, but going into college, like, that guy was a guy that got buckets, and he's kind of putting that Marcus Smart role, and it's like, yeah, you could, but I hope he's working enough to kind of break out of that role. You know how the NBA is. Once you get set in a certain perspective, that's within a few years, all of a sudden you're just a 3-and-D guy, and you're like, what happened? Why am I the 3-and-D guy? I could do more than this. And it's too late.
If he's a 3-and-D guy on that team, if you watch them play, that Giddey kid from Australia, he's legit. He had a triple-double. He's the youngest NBA player to ever to get a triple-double. And he can't shoot yet. And you're watching him going, your mechanics are going to come along. Like, you're going to get it. And so that's two big guards. You're playing Giddey at 6'8". You're playing Shea at 6'6". And going like, and Dort's 6'5". So
6'3". He's about 6'3".
Well, so is everybody's. But anyhow,
they
roll out like.
but he's
legit.
a big, strong guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he plays bigger than his size because of how physical he is. And look, he doesn't have a lot of wiggle to his game, but he can make the right pass. He can get in the key and kick it out. And if he can get his shooting more consistent, because he's like the last 3 weeks, I think he's shooting 29%. But again, he'll go through streaks where you're like, man, he was like 6 for 9 for 3.
Yeah.
In one game, and you're going like, whoa. So I like what they're doing there, but it's hard to watch because their front court is just terrible.
Yeah, it's one of those things he just has to keep working. He just has to keep working at it. But yeah, I agree. I'm in agreement with you. Like I said, the Baisley kid is interesting, but he just has to get more consistency to him, because I know sometimes he drives Shea nuts. He drives him nuts in some games, but with his inconsistency. But I think if that light switch can go off for that kid, there's something there with him. There's definitely something there, especially defensively. Because even on my fantasy team, which is taking a massive COVID-laden beating right now to my squad, and in ways that I just wouldn't have imagined. It's like corporal punishment on my fantasy team. It hurts me, but I have him on my fantasy team, and he gets you a lot of blocks. Like there's games where it's like you look up and you're like, he's got 5 blocks. What the hell? But like there's something with him. There's definitely some talent there with him. It's just, is that light switch gonna go off? But he's the only front court player you can say that about. Yeah.
In terms of players, is there anybody that interests you? I'm wondering, does Zion ever play another game for the Pelicans?
I think he does. I'll say this again. Like, I feel like they're the team and the player in a tough situation, because he's in a position where if the team offers him the max, he has to take it, even if it's going to be later with incentives and provisions. He's got to take it. And if you're the Pelicans, you have to offer him the max, because you cannot let another franchise player in the last 3 years just walk away from your city again. So they're both kind of like they're married to each other. I don't know if they love each other right now, but they're definitely married to each other,
It's a marriage of convenience at this point.
Right. It's like a 90-day fiance. Like, that's what it feels like.
And what, the max contract is the kids? That's what they're staying together for? Is that what it is?
I guess. Yeah. Yeah, it's got that 90-day fiance feel to it right now. Like, you're just doing it for, for somebody to get their green card, whether it's the Pelicans or Zion, I don't know who, but it's just one of those things where it's like they're kind of married to each other for a little while. But like I said, if I'm them though, I'll play him if he's healthy. Like, if he's healthy, I'll play him, because I still want to see what he's like, what there is. Like, if he's healthy, he's in shape, the bone is perfectly healed, why not? Because it's not a ligament or anything like that. But like, if he ends up not playing this whole season, are you surprised? Look at their record, right? Like, what are you coming back for? It's like, what are you coming back for, really and truly? They're not going to be anywhere close to making the playoffs unless they go undefeated when he comes back on the court, and maybe get a 10th spot, which is almost impossible at this point. It is what it is. But I think he does come back and play.
What are your thoughts on Clay's return?
I'm anxiously awaiting it. I've been waiting for, I think we've all been waiting for it for the last year. Before he tore his Achilles, I think last year we were secretly salivating for them to come together. And then he tore his Achilles, and you're like, oh man, So the fact that like his knee's more than 100%, because when did he tear his knee? It was almost 3 years now, right? So his knee's like 100%, but it's just, he hasn't had his reps yet. Like I said this before, like, I think you're taking these next 3 months and just treating it like a long preseason for him. Just get him ready for the playoffs, because right now I think they're saying like he's going to start, but he's going to be getting about 18 minutes a night to start, and fine, let him get the reps in. These 2 major surgeries, major injuries, you just want to get his reps for April and May. That's all you want to do.
Remember when Amari came back from microfracture surgery and had a bananas game like the first game and then just fell right off. As you were talking, that's what popped into my head. Like, what if Klay comes in and goes bananas? Oh, yeah, I remember Amari did that, and that didn't work out so well. So, but again, Klay has the skill as a shooter that's not going away.
No.
And really, it's the mobility in his defensive presence that is the question mark right now to what he can contribute. You know, just imagine like he's your second unit. Like you start him, but then as the season goes on, you just pair him with whoever because you don't run plays for him. He just runs around, and the defense has to know where he is because he's going to drill it. I mean, the guy scored 60 points on 9 dribbles.
Yeah. No, I agree. I like I said, him and Wiseman coming back. I don't know when Wiseman's coming back. I know that's soon too, but I mean, Klay may be back within the next, less than a week. He's going to be back, right? I think that they have him scheduled to play on Sunday, Sunday night against the Cavs, and yeah, man, I'm definitely looking forward to it. You just want to see the Splash Brothers back together. Like I said, you want to see him get his win back and get his legs under him. And the next 3 months, if he gets you 20 points in 18 minutes, great. If he gives you 3 points in 18 minutes, cool. You know what I mean? Like if the percentages is off, so what? Let's just get it right for April and May. April, you want to see that, you want that to be his best month, and then we go from there.
On reputation alone, he's going to get defensive attention. It's going to stall defensive rotations just because, Klay Thompson's over there, I can't help. Right? Just that alone is going to be. I mean, you got a 6'7", 6'8" guy who with a high release point who's a knockdown shooter.
Yeah.
That's going to age very well.
Ultimate knockdown shooter too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be a lot of fun.
And you know what? There's going to be guys that are going to forget. There's going to be some guys are going to they may forget for like a split. Ah, shit, I forgot Klay. Like, damn it.
I want him to grow his hair out and not look like Klay, look like Jackie Moon or something with the headband. And people are like, oh, who's this bozo? Oh, yeah, that's Klay Thompson.
Klay. Yeah, just have fluorescent pink shoes, a pink headband.
Something like that. Yeah. For sure. That would be awesome. Last question, and then I'll leave it open to whatever you want to talk about.
Okay.
Are we sleeping on the Utah Jazz?
Good question. No, not really, to be honest with you. I think that collapse they had in the playoffs last year kind of hurt them more than it let on, at least perception-wise. But I always thought, that was a terrible loss, but I don't think you break the team up over it. I don't think you start looking to trade guys for it. You just kind of shore things up, get them a little better. No, I don't think they're being. I guess the media wise, they're kind of being slept on. But I mean, I think to basketball fans, true ballers who watch, not really. They're right where they should be. I think we kind of had them in that top 3, top 2. I think I had them finishing first in the West. So the fact that they're third, they're right behind the Suns and the Warriors. It's not shocking, they're a good team, man. They're a good team. They just need some more, the one thing, we're living in an age now where you want that success now. Nothing takes, especially in the playoffs of basketball, you got to lose for a little while before you win, right? They jump back on the scene, 4 years ago? This is about around the time now where that team starts to take those levels. They start going further in the playoffs. They take those lumps. Yeah. They're kind of on schedule,
I heard a saying that stuck in my head recently. It's things go bad quickly, but things get better slowly. And sure, they had that playoff collapse, but I've been watching this year, and Donovan Mitchell is better. He's better than he was last year. And so the real question to me is, what are you going to get out of Mike Conley at, what is he, 34 years old? He's an undersized guard with an injury history. Had he been healthy last year in the playoffs, I think we're looking at a different story maybe. What are you going to get? What are you going to get out of your other wing guys? Bogdanovich is, reliable. He's going to get you your buckets. He competes defensively. A lot of it revolves around the conversation people have about Rudy. Can you have him on the floor? Like, I don't think that's a big deal.
And I think he's playing better himself too.
I mean, he's just doing what he does, right? Like he changes the game on his end, and they're a good, solid defensive team. I think they're just in a tough spot because Phoenix and Golden State are legit. Like they are really, really good. So, going forward, we'll see how it goes. But I think Utah is pretty much where they should be.
The one thing about them that I'm disappointed in is Jordan Clarkson. He is not having the six man award is not going to be in his name this year. He is not. He is struggling. When you look at his numbers, you're like, yeah, this is. So yeah, I'm figuring at some point it's going to flip around for him. But he's definitely like the season he's having so far is a far cry from what it was last year. Like he's having like a 2-3 month long slump so far. So you're hoping at some point he breaks out of it, but that's the one thing where like they got to get some improvement out of him if they're gonna try to like overtake be like a real finals contender where they're gonna win the title. Like he's got to go back to being that I'm getting 20 a night kind of thing coming off the bench. I have him on my fantasy team. He's having some big nights. It's the efficiency's not there. The pop isn't there. So again, I don't think he could get hot for a month and it's all fixed. 6th man of the year prayer. If you read anything and you listen to a lot of podcasts, I mean, Tyler Hero apparently has that thing locked up. So Jordan Clarkson doesn't have much of a chance. But anyhow, what's on your mind before we get out of here? What are you working on for your podcast, your next basketball podcast? What is it that you're mulling around? Well, every year annually, and shout out to my South Shore Ave family members, Randall Walter, Julian, a.k.a. Jules Kabish. Every year we always have the State of the Raptors address. We do this every year ever since I started doing my podcast, right? And I mean, the years that we were doing it, especially in 2019, 2020, was really good, right? This year, not so much, right? But but I am looking forward to it though because, just judging from their progress, they're kind of where they should be really right now. COVID again has come in through that franchise like Thanos, because last year they couldn't even play, and this year he's got the fingers and he snapped again. The gauntlet and he snapped snapped again, and now we're back to like no fans and like it's I honestly since they've done the restrictions and there's been no fans in the stands, Bill, it's hard for me to watch. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't do it. Especially when you flip all the other games and there's fans in the stands. I'm like I can't. I want to watch you play. I'm gonna get to you eventually, but I need to see put some cartoon characters, somebody. Put the Avengers cutouts in the front row, something. Pump in some fake noise, something. But I'm like, we can't go back to not having no fans in the arenas again. I'm like, no, man. Like, I get it because of the restrictions and stuff, but I'm just like, I can't watch this. I can't. I can't do it.
I like the cardboard cutouts. I want more of those. Those are great. If you look at the standings in the East, 7 to 12 are separated by 2 games. So you win 2 games, you can go from 12 to 7 if my math is correct. Which probably it's not. But anyhow, that's crazy. The Raptors, a few days ago when I looked at the standings, they were in 11th. Now they're in 10th. Man, come All-Star break, they could be in 6th.
No, and that's realistic, right? They just got to get healthy, right? They got to get healthy.
They got to get healthy, and the Raptors organization has always been one, and there's a handful of organizations that are like this. Miami does this, that they just play hard. San Antonio, their guys play hard, and that's a skill in the NBA. So if you can get your guys to play hard, I mean, you look at Boston. They're like, does Boston scare you? Would you pick
No.
Boston over the Raptors?
Not at all.
I don't know, because maybe they would have maybe the two best players in the series, but they wouldn't have the best 5-man lineup.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So, you kind of like where the Raptors are. They're competent. They're a decent team, but we've been spoiled the last few years, so we gotta kind of.
What's interesting is most rookies, or there's still such a thing as the rookie wall, right? And rookies still normally hit that, but because of this layoff that Barnes has had the last 2 weeks, with COVID, I guess he's had the symptoms and stuff. So hopefully he's gonna be fine. Yeah. But once he gets his legs back under him, is he gonna hit that rookie wall just because of this time missed? Like, he's gotten some rest now that he probably wouldn't have gotten, right? Which would have contributed to him at some point hitting the wall. So I'm wondering, by the time he comes back, because I think, is he back now, or is he probably out another week or so, right?
I don't know. I will be honest. I've neglected the Raptors willfully this season to watch other teams. Mm-hmm. And what I'll say is Jason Tatum of the Celtics said he was suffering from COVID symptoms for months after, and he was not himself the rest of, I believe it was last season that he got it. So you don't know how it's going to affect guys. So he could come back and it's like, oh, it's a mild cold, or he could be struggling with his wind for weeks on end. You don't know.
Right. And you know what? My mistake. I stand corrected. He did play yesterday. That was his first game back. Okay. Now, the difference between what the virus that Jason Tatum had and what everybody else is going through is also different too, right? Unless
different variant.
Because of the variant that he had, like, it may lead him fatigue. He's gonna get his win, but I don't know if it's. This doesn't seem like it's a respiratory thing now, right? At least in terms of what they say. So because of that, I'm not sure. Like, I think him getting his win back is going to go through the normal process. It's not going to be where when people were getting COVID and it was taking them like a month or two to get their win back, right? To get their lungs back. I don't think this is the same thing. I think it's just getting your legs back and then you're ready to go. Because the biggest thing that, unfortunately, I know about 4 or 5 people that's had this new variant, and to a man, everybody just says, man, I was tired. I was just really fatigued, And then at some point they got out of it, but of course, none of them are pro athletes. But but he just figures it's gonna take them like a couple weeks to get back. You know what I mean? Just because it doesn't seem like it's a respiratory thing. Like, so I think I could see him coming back. I don't see him having the same issues that Jason Tatum was having.
Yeah, who knows? Let's hope not. Let's hope everybody gets back and we can have some real basketball without these guys who've been out of nowhere. I think the Hawks game I watched the other night, literally, I had no idea who half these guys were.
Well, remember the Raptors game that they had earlier, not to cut you off. I think not to cut you off, but like the Raptors game where it was just Chris Boucher and like the whole 905, like it was like,
is that the game where he had like 36
or something, yeah, but it was like like he was the only like guy that was on the team basically that like had like really any NBA experience. Because everybody was out, right? Like, it's hard to take, and that's what I mean. Like, there's so many teams that's going through that right now. Like, at this stage of the season, it's hard to take certain games seriously. We didn't talk about Charlotte, but as much as we're watching a lot of those Charlotte games, the last 3 weeks, I'm like, man, what's the point? It's just Miles Bridges and a bunch of G Leaguers. Like, I can't watch this. You know what I mean? Like, it's. Yeah. So you're hoping, like I said, now that it's kind of went through the league right now, you're kind of hoping, like, okay, you can get back to watching these matchups properly, so, and I guess to double back to answer your question. Sorry, go ahead.
I might just wait a week and not watch any games. I might do that.
No, but I was just saying that, yeah, like, just to answer your question, like that's one of the things they're probably working on. That's usually right around the All-Star break, whether just before or just after. So that'll be out next month. And as far as shows goes, we're definitely gonna have. I usually every year do like the NFL playoffs. I usually have a podcast for like every week of the playoffs. So for that, that's going to be coming, and just a few different ideas and shows will be coming down the pipeline. I'm excited for 2022. South Shore Ave, you can get that anywhere. wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, everywhere else. So definitely going to be on YouTube a lot more now too. Doing more. Yeah, I'm going to be doing those a lot more starting this month. So I'm looking forward to that too.
Yeah, it's fun. I like doing this.
Yeah,
even if it's just the audio version, but YouTube is definitely a fun place to be, right? Because it's just another place for people to find you, and you can add the video to it. It's great.
Yeah, it's just a video component to it. So, but I'm looking forward to doing that, and yeah, that's basically it, man. Just plugging away and just ready to take the year on, podcast wise, right? So I have a lot of ideas, and I'm just ready to go. I'm just ready to get it rolling. Restrictions be damned.
Yeah. I think that's a good note to end it on right there. Screw the restrictions. I'm out of here.